Well, it turns out Bloodbeasts might have just been bugged and are actually pretty good. Remains to be seen, but today we're going to be taking a look at Empire versus Khorne, talking a little bit about this matchup, about Bloodbeasts, and a few other topics. Oop, excuse my cat as he dips out of my lap. Anyway, yeah, this replay here, courtesy of Twilight Harbinger from the XMT clan, and he's doing a few test games here. We've got Empire, like I said, versus Khorne, my beloved Empire. I've been pretty busy with some stuff recently. Haven't had a lot of time to play on the new hotfixed update to make sure, you know, what this matchup really looks like, but it is a matchup that's been pretty interesting at times. Khorne can definitely do some things that give the Empire problems, but let's talk a little bit about the builds here first, starting with Khorne. Hellforged Bellowers, of course, very good. In my recent video about it, a lot of people mentioned that direct fire artillery would be a good counter, and specifically the Hammer of Witches is a pretty good counter. It's got the Regiment of Renown accuracy and magic damage to actually make consistent hits against a small mobile target, unlike many other artillery pieces, which is definitely the case for certain factions that lack like a good ROR artillery. Direct fire, we've also got some more wagons here to skirmish, so plenty of skirmish on both sides. Looks like front line for Khorne's going to be some Marauders here. Wrathmonger's got a little buff in one of the hotfixes. Whether they needed that or not in land battles remains to be seen. I guess they kind of needed it in domination. And then, of course, the Bloodbeasts, as mentioned, they did get their AP, I think, flipped slightly. It's basically still close to 50-50, but more on the AP side. And yeah, they're pretty decent in terms of their offensive stats. Still relatively low. Defensive stats for the cost can definitely get bursted down, but let's see how they can do here with their new buffs. And of course, being fixed, their splash attacks were one of the ones that was most significantly buffed, which is one of the reasons why in hindsight they were terrible in early access. But all that lesson being learned, let's turn back to the Empire here. Yeah, skirmish with the Master Engineer is the plan here. So we've got some kiting with the War Wagons, potentially some counter cavalry, Demigryph Knights, Halberds. We've got some Knights of the Black Rose. You need something more than Empire Knights here to get through like Furies and other decent targets. We've got some, yeah, Spearmen scattered around. That's pretty much it. So that means immediately going to come screen said Furies, and the War Wagons will continue pulling away, getting some good shots here. Leadership-wise, yeah, we've got Arbal and Karnak currently hanging out outside of cannon range. We can see the Furies are dropping down here. At the same time, the Hellforged scores a nice direct hit there on the Hammer of Witches, but has taken a lot of damage in return. Arbal and Karnak sort of, again, hanging back for the time being, but a good combination. Definitely can give a lot of problems. Karnak, in particular, being able to snipe characters and casters is a pretty big issue for sure. But for the time being, a few of these Furies come in. They do manage to actually rout the Hammer of Witches, and some others just kind of hanging around, eating some of the War Wagon shots. Of course, the Master Engineer does have restock, so he can refill the ammo of the War Wagons. Very important. But yeah, let's check out the engagements here with these Bloodbeasts. This one matched up pretty unfavorable engagement against Demigryph Knights, Halberds, but still actually not getting as clobbered as I thought. The other one kind of drifts in here as well. They're going to get a rear charge with some Furies, Earthblood as well. So interesting, both sides kind of pouring in some resources, but the Furies are actually a really nice kind of support here, especially against the Demi Halberds, of course. They, counting as infantry, are not going to be subjected to the Demi's anti-large bonus, and is just going to fight them very efficiently in general, especially on the charge. But eventually we'll run out of steam. But still, overall, I think Khorne carrying that engagement. More resources definitely invested there. But nonetheless, interesting to see. Actually, maybe pretty close. I'd have to do the math, but probably basically 3,000 apiece, right? For both players, give or take. But yeah, Khorne actually winning out that engagement. Pretty important as, yeah, Arbal and Karnak activate here. They're going to come forward under no cannon fire. Hellforged kind of pulls back a little bit as well to stay at a safe distance. And yeah, these two are going to come in, get some good work done. We're going to see the spawn summons immediately being used. Detonating, I didn't actually catch what low health unit got wiped out there. But yeah, spawn immediately getting charged by the Demi Halberds and kind of blocking for Arbal and for Karnak here. Let's see, does he also have the summon for the Flesh Hounds? Looks like probably not. That is typically one that people might cut, but if you do have the gold, can definitely be a nice inclusion to help pad out numbers a little bit. But here we see the Master Engineer get caught by the Wrathmongers, and yeah, definitely not a happy situation for him. If Karnak and Arbol were to get loose and try and chase the Master Engineer down, it would be problematic, but that's perhaps what Twilight Harbinger here wants, with the War Wagons being able to kite. Of course, the Master Engineer himself also pretty good missile damage with his grenade launcher. So, that's exactly what we see starting to play out here. This Lore of Life caster, though, unfortunately is not mounted, so cannot keep up with the kite effectively, and is just going to get yeeted by good old Karnak. Yeah, Karnak is just living his best life, hunting down a mage here. The mage isn't actually taking all that much damage, but Arbol also staying close. There's kind of some woods they can use to potentially try and block some shots. Knights the Black Rose, again, getting caught out in the open. And so far, the Bloodbeasts have been able to work well in synergy with the Furies, and also kind of in support of the Marauders. Let's see, in terms of value, yeah, not crazy value there, but here, this one, yeah, definitely has paid for itself already, so nice to see. But Arbol overextends about his dog bro. He is going to take a big face full of damage from these War Wagons. And you see the Bloodbeasts are catching up and getting some damage in, but at the same time, the War Wagons' damage is getting pretty significant. Karnak also gets separated, again, caught by the Knights of the Black Rose in a more sustained combat. Isolated as he is, this will accentuate his weaknesses. And some healing demis charge in to deliver some anti-large blows. I love how you can see Arbal's banner in the distance. I don't know, if, depending on your screen size, you might not be able to, but certainly in my nice 4K monitor, I can. This game's absolutely gorgeous at times. Most of the time, to be honest. Yeah, the Bloodbeasts here continuing to pursue. Knights of the Black Rose basically acting as a blocking detachment at this point. One War Wagon did get pretty badly beat up there. They're actually getting a regrowth to help restore the health of the remaining unit models and restore their vigor as well. They're all still active, to be honest. Their vigor is mostly doing just fine. But who is not doing fine is Arbol, as he continues to take missile damage. Friendly fire from the grenade launcher detonates some of those Knights of the Black Rose. Arbol pushes through. But let's see, as those firing lanes maybe open up. Some line of sight issues, definitely for the War Wagons right now, but yeah, I don't know if they have an actual shoot order, but there we go. Once Arbal's relatively free, then he's taking the damage. And from the Khorne player's perspective here, you definitely would want to regroup Arbol and these Bloodbeasts with the infantry here. You've got all these shielded Marauders who could potentially be eating some ammunition, although Master Engineer here to refill. They probably have enough ammunition actually to just kill the rest of the army, to be honest. So let's fast forward a little bit. The Hell-Forged Bellowers is still alive out there in the distance. Help spring Karnak loose from those cavalry. Might be able to affect things a little bit here. We do have Karnak kind of closing from the other side. Prey of the Blood God being used here on the Jade Wizard. Probably a little late. I mean, the Jade Wizard probably doesn't have that much magic left at this point. So, like, I understand wanting to take him out, but might have been more worth saving that to try and catch the Master Engineer in the late game here. But, yeah, Arbol having bit the bullet quite literally at some point. Very recently, he's not going to be here to help. And that does impact the leadership now. Bloodbeasts are going to be gone. The remaining units of the Empire here, yeah, I can see very quickly moving towards army losses with the loss of leadership. And the Jade Wizard even kind of just, like, not taking all that much damage against Karnak. And then here come the War Wagons. Yes, indeed. Yeah, the kite game, definitely for the Empire. More mobile firepower is definitely one of their strengths. Has been for a long time, and certainly in this matchup, especially with the addition of the Master Engineer in their most recent DLC, back in the summertime, I guess spring, when was it? It was a good time, regardless. Yeah, definitely helps quite a bit, but overall interesting. For me, a few interesting takeaways. Definitely the refilling the ammo of the War Wagons seems really strong here, and it definitely seems like just not fighting Khorne in melee is the right call, absolutely. Yeah, the Demi-Halberds actually did much more poorly than I was expecting. Ember of Witches seems like a very essential tool. They did send me a few other replays of the matchup as well. I may end up casting one other a little bit later in the week. But yeah, we'll probably flip the perspective and cast from the Khorne side. The Bloodbeasts, though, takeaway for Khorne here, seem pretty solid, honestly, with their animations being fixed and their AP values kind of being a little bit tinkered with. They seem overall like a much better unit, and I'll have to give them a go myself. Skull Cannon, even with a nice direct counter, is still able to pay for itself, and then some, with some competent play here. And definitely, you know, the Furies are a big equation of why the Skull Cannon is so strong, because Furies are one of the best mobility units in multiplayer. They're just excellent at so many ways, especially for shutting down artillery. Like, even you have a relatively expensive artillery crew, even if you have some ground defense, like cavalry and stuff, we saw even there with a relatively quick response, they can still often at least disrupt, if not rout, especially lighter artillery crews with lesser leadership, lesser HP. Even a regiment renowned like what we saw here with the Empire that has a little bit more leadership still is definitely vulnerable to Furies, and they're just so tough to stop in practice, right? Like, it's nice in theory and in comments, but in practice against a skilled player, like, it's incredibly tough to stop. So the counters that you might develop against the Hellforged Bellowers, you know, that can be countered by Furies themselves. Granted, it's back and forth. It's not a guarantee. That's why you play the games, right? But yeah, very interesting overall. Arbol himself and Karnak maybe didn't get as much value as I would have thought, but would have maybe been used slightly better in some different engagements. But at the same time, definitely we're in for a tough time. I mean, getting kited is not easy, and it's not easy to do, and it's also, when you're against a skilled player, like, if they will definitely punish you for any mistake you make. So it's tricky, and the Empire has oftentimes been one of the best kite factions in the game. But I guess I've rambled on long enough for today. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.